everybody. If you're watching or listening to this video, that means you've joined our growing community of homeschooling families. And I just want to make sure that everybody has what they need to participate and be successful on our Feast Community Day. So first of all, welcome. I'm really glad you're here. You've already hopefully read or heard about our Feast mission, that we are a community that focuses on faith-building experiences, academic support, and employing the trusted techniques of Charlotte Mason to guide and facilitate learning in our group. This is our mission. In this training, we're going to move from our mission over to what I would call our framework. And so we'll be exploring how Charlotte Mason's 20 Principles of Education establish the order for how we run our community. 2 of those principles serve as a foundation upon which everything else is built. The first one is that children are born persons. And then secondly, that education is a science of relations. Karen Glass called these educational laws, simply meaning that these 2 ideas will prove true whether or not we choose to recognize them. Just like if we ignore gravity and walk off the side of a building, gravity doesn't care about our opinion on whether or not it's a real law. It's still going to pull us to the earth with possibly devastating consequences. So similarly, we could ignore our child's personhood or the nature of education, but at the end of our child's time with us at home, we'll still see these things proven true. So let's talk about them a little more. Your child was born a person. So just like your son or daughter was born physically with 10 fingers and toes and all that he or she needs to grow physically into maturity, so too they are born fully furnished intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. So we don't think of our children as blank slates or empty buckets, but as image bearers of God. And they are gifts that He knew long before we knew them, and it's our responsibility to journey alongside them for a time and then send them on their way with the Lord. And this truth comes with responsibilities that we must account for, not only as we educate our children, but as we parent them in general. So those rules for how we relate to them and how we instruct them, and the tools we may use to help lead them into maturity, those are our responsibilities, and we take those into account every week at Feast. A child's personhood tells us how we must go about educating them. The second educational law tells us that education is a science of relations. What this means is that the whole work of education is the acceptance and rejection of ideas, and then building relationships between those ideas. And the student is the one who does that work. So I can know a singular fact, but I'm not educated until I can connect that fact to a broader base of knowledge and understanding. Similarly, I cannot force understanding and knowledge into anyone else. I can only lay the ideas before someone, and then they take them in. So we expose students to a wide variety of living ideas and know that understanding isn't achieved until the child or student can reproduce that idea from their own mind. Our job is to bring them to the Feast of Ideas. Then they must be allowed and expected to do the work of taking it in themselves. We don't spoon feed them with that perilous plane flying toward the tightly closed hangar, but we give them the fork as we set the example and partake of knowledge ourselves. So now we're going to explore these ideas a little more in depth. How exactly does your child's personhood influence Community Day at Feast? And what does the science of relations have to do with folk dancing or geography? We're going to find out in the rest of the Feast framework training. So take a second and grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and something to take some notes with so that you can really internalize what we go through. And let's dive into these ideas that will help us all get on the same page for this coming year.